November 12, 2017. My name is Kuldip Randhawa. I live in Surrey, BC, British Columbia, a province of Canada, a nation that's considered at the forefront of human rights. I have actually done a number of videos on YouTube. I'm telling you my story in British Columbia, which is basically going to be summed up in this appeal. The appeal is to everybody who's listening to this video. It includes politicians, the law enforcement agencies, any other organization, human rights organizations that need to get in touch with me. What this is a biggest problem in Canada at the moment that is not being considered by the politicians. It is a province that is acting as if it is outside of Canada. It is not following the Constitution of Canada, and a number of organizations that are operated by folks that believe that they can carry on with crimes because they're not going to be investigated. They all started from the APEC BC fraud, which has been covered in a separate video, and then carried on to other businesses of mine for reasons unknown to me. I feel that I have been investigated, targeted, what I've termed as a collateral attack, which is actually not to be confused with a legal doctrine where a person gets a judgment in one court and he goes to another court. It's something else which is often not talked about by lawyers. Something real bad, criminal intent, where a person is being targeted and stalked and he is followed and monitored, and therefore he is considered some sort of a threat, maybe for reasons unknown, and investigation is done as if he is a criminal, almost, I would say, when that clearly is not the case here. So the only way to get to the truth of what is happening here, there would be another video created by me called Cultural Exploitation, which is kind of colonialism, which is still taking place. It is as if they are living the good old days, when they wanted to rule nations that didn't belong to them. They adopted policies which were to control people so they can take over, because they were less in number. So they had to recruit from the nations that they were taking over from, the people of that nation. They needed to be corrupted and controlled, and they were gifted benefits so that they could continue as loyal subjects under the British Empire. Those days have gone, but it seems some people in Canada are still living the past, and it's time we moved on if Canada is to solve the problems in this world, because most nations do consider it to be at the forefront of human rights. So this criminal activity of stalking someone, targeting a person, has to stop. This is exactly what has happened to me. It's done in such a way that the police is not going to investigate. It is as if I've been blacklisted. So whatever needs to be done has to be done as soon as possible, so that further harm is not done to me and my family. And I most likely would not have made these videos, which I'm posting on YouTube, if it was not for the events that took place on June 8th, 2017, before Justice Murray, in the Gateway proceedings, which was one of my businesses that I had established, in which my former brother Majid was going to be a shareholder, but then he did not enter into a shareholders agreement. As soon as the APEC proceedings started, I think he took full advantage of that situation, because he wanted to establish a share, and then somehow had no intention of developing. Even if he had believed that I was a bad engineer, that was not a reason for him to take that position. But nevertheless, let's just take that he did. There were other engineers we could have retained. The truth is, when I was going through bad times, he took full advantage of that. And he approached lawyers here in BC. That deceived him, probably exploited him. And because his nature is such, because he wanted to steal my shares and not develop, not pay for my fees that were done by Ekima Consulting Engineers Limited. So the whole process itself was sort of taken to his advantage. And so when that happens, it affects not only one family, but it actually affects a number of families. Because the cultural exploitation is quite extensive, based on what I've just told you. So the best way to deal with this thing is that when you have a nation where the courts are not doing their job, the doctrine often referred to as functus officio, which is a mandate of an organization or an agency or a department, such as Department of Justice in collecting taxes, for example. If taxes are not due, you should not be collecting taxes. But then you carry on with that fraud in the courts, which are actually allowed. Because what you're really doing is stealing from the ethnic communities. You're interfering with them so that the progress of that community cannot be made to the pace that it should. Because you have a people who are quite vibrant and they're hardworking and they're making so much progress, so maybe that is something you don't like. Whatever the reasons are, it doesn't really matter, because if Canada is a democracy, we have to be treated equally. By be treated equally not only outside of the courts but inside the courts. But when the courts do not decide matters according to law, then that is why the problem exists. And so someone who came from England, a British citizen, I went to the British Columbia courts in complete confidence that we have a nation here that is operating according to law, and that the courts are a place where one can get justice. My experiences have been that some of the biggest frauds are taking place in British Columbia courts at present. I can't say the same is happening in other provinces. I have not lived there. But I have lived in British Columbia for in excess of 20 years now, and I know from experience that this nation is seriously about to lose its status in the world. With that regard, I would like to do my bit to protect it, to save itself from being recognized as a place where crimes are still being committed against humanity. We are well aware of the residential schools. We now have another issue, which is called crime houses. The crime houses are the Vancouver courts. But in order to explain what truly is happening here, I think I need to provide an analogy. Let us consider a race of 6 people. Someone would lower the hand, blow the whistle, or shoot a blank bullet in the air, and the race starts. There's a finishing line. And people start running towards the finishing line because they're competing with each other. And so one person is declared the winner. The second person comes second, and so forth. And so this is how one can look at the court system, because the function of this race is to win with proper rules and regulations followed. There can't be any deception. There can't be any foul play. And that is the function of the race, to win with everything being equal for every competitor. Functus officio is basically that, because there's a time frame for something to happen. And so when the trial commences, discoveries are done, applications are made, and so forth, depending on the nature of the proceeding. And at the end of the proceeding, a judgment is made, in which case one person is declared the winner, and the loser has to pay the costs. I understand how it works. But when you consider this race, if one of the competitors was taking drugs, that person then wins. Well, clearly it's known that a person cannot win under the influence of drugs. So a new winner has to be elected. Another competitor is not really a competitor at all, because he's there to trip over the favorite person in the race who's going to win. And so the whole thing is a bit of a setup. It's a scam. And so if that scam is then discovered, the race is called off. And then there are other people within the race. Let's assume there's no foul play and there's no persons taking drugs. One person is declared the winner. Does the person who is running second or third or fourth, are they told not to run? Because technically the race is only over when the last person competing finishes the finishing line. And so this is a little bit of an analogy that one can take in the court. When the person who has lost is still winning, or trying to win, or trying to compete, he goes before a judge, as I did on June 8th, 2017, and he is arrested. He's put down because he raised some concerns before the judge. In protecting that judge, because the judge was being set up, in my opinion. I wanted to protect that judge from committing a felony, which is a serious crime because it's done by someone considerably higher up. Where a lawyer would go to court and deceive the judge. It's a duty of officers of the court, and self-representing litigants are no different. They have the duty to ensure that the judge is protected from foul play. Because the judge doesn't know sometimes all of the events. But when a person is appearing before this judge, as I did on June 8th, 2017, an event that I will never forget, it was for the first time, because the previous judge in these proceedings, which are called gateway proceedings, and there's another video on this on YouTube, Judge Bernier had been removed by the Chief Justice Christopher Hinkson. He made orders which are ex mero moto in two proceedings. One proceeding was S111030, which was my former brother Manjeet's action against me, and the second proceeding was S123329, which was my proceeding allowed by Judge Bernier for damages. And orders were issued in both proceedings, which indicated that matters were not over, that matters still needed to be litigated. And that's why we went before Judge Murray. When my applications were not being filed, applications that were allowed by Judge Bernier back in April. There's a process where you file a request to appear, and I did that. There were two applications in two separate matters in January of 2017. But around about that time, in December, I had an accident. December 2016, I had a ICBC accident and followed by another accident, ICBC accident in January 2017. So I was not fit to attend trial. My ICBC lawyer at that time, Mr. Randhawa, provided an affidavit to the court advising them that I cannot attend, but I'm opposing the applications. That evidence was ignored, apparently. When they knew that I had serious concerns, which I had repeatedly given to counsel at Lawson Lundell. And so I was representing myself for most of the time. And so when the proceedings were transferred, when my applications that were allowed by Judge Bernier were not being filed because of another order in which I was declared vexatious. One can consider another video of mine, which is on the YouTube, that discusses what a vexatious litigant is. Certainly I am not vexatious. I think that's been proven beyond a reasonable doubt by now. And so the proceedings were transferred for a case planning conference. That is what I was told by the staff. And it went to New Westminster when actually this was a Vancouver proceeding. Because Judge Murray was sitting in a trial in New Westminster for a number of days. And the trial normally starts at 10 o'clock, and this is a separate trial, nothing to do with Gateway. And so we appeared for 45 minutes. The application that was before the judge, as indicated on the trial list, was my application in S123329. And it was set for 1 day. It was for a judicial inquiry so that the shares can be adjusted, in which Manjeet was not a shareholder at all, when you consider the reasons of judgment that were made in December 31st, 2013 by Judge Bernier. One has to see the Gateway video for that fraud. And so, technically speaking, I appeared as if this was a case planning conference. You can't have a 1 day hearing in 45 minutes. It just is not possible. But as soon as I got up, two lawyers on the other side representing Manjeet, who, despite knowing my concerns and my opposition to his applications and what's happening to me here in British Columbia, he proceeds to sell the land when he knows that he's not a shareholder, because it's been proven to him. And so they proceed as if I'm not even there. And then, technically speaking, I had opposed that application because it was not before Judge Murray. There was no application that was served to me. My applications and numerous requests to appear before Judge Murray, including an application to recuse that judge, were ignored. And then I decided to seek an adjournment. And I called 911, took my phone out, and as soon as I did that, I was arrested by the sheriffs and taken down, wearing a suit and tie, because I was appearing before a judge who I thought was honorable. And one has to dress up nice for the courts. That's what people of professions act. They dress up nice. And then I'm put in a jail cell. And I'm ill-treated by the sheriffs, except those sheriffs that offered juice. But soon after that, I was denied the juice because I told them I wasn't having a great day. What did you expect me to say? That I was having a great day? And when I'm in this cell, the lands are sold, which are the subject of the litigation, despite the fact there's an injunction registered by consent many years before when I appeared before Judge Bernier to save the court's time. The conditions of the injunction is that whilst litigation is still ongoing, the lands will not be sold. So the litigation was ongoing. When you have a case planning conference, because when a new judge takes over, that judge has to decide what applications are remaining. And so the lawyers lied to the judge, and the judge clearly knew this because the evidence of the ex meromoto orders made by Chief Justice that the litigation is still ongoing. So how could she say that she was not aware of this? And then I'm told, as I'm released after the lunch break, the charges were, so-called charges, were purged, when actually the individuals that were in contempt of court was the judge. She was in contempt of court of the orders issued by the Chief Justice and orders made by Judge Bernier that my applications are still allowed. So the lands were sold. Now, of course, I didn't know that at that time when I was being released. I was reassured by Judge Murray that there's now going to be a case planning conference. And then a few days after that, I go to court in New Westminster to see the files. so I can find out what actually happened of the orders. In the application of Majid, that was really not before the court on that day, and I find that orders were made, which I later believed, because of the case planning conference now set for June 22nd, 2017, that those orders were going to be vacated. And they were not. And so now I'm turning up to see my files, and now I'm told by the sheriffs that they're going to have to search me like some criminal. Because this is their way of harassing me to make sure that I don't get access to the orders that were made, in which now I would be proceeding ahead. And so the judge deceives me on June 8th, 2017. She tells me I'm an intelligent person. She tells me that my application is well written. So she gives me some hope that now on June 22nd, I'm going to get a hearing according to law, which was promised by Judge Bernier. And there I'm told that everything is decided. The lands are sold. Well, of course they're sold, because you sold them when you knew there was orders by Chief Justice and my applications were still not heard. And then you used the Justice Verhoeven vexatious order that was made by him by a vexatious judge who disregarded the evidence before him because he was biased and committing a crime. One only has to look at that detailed affidavit before him, whereas spent clear submissions to that judge, telling him there's no taxes owed on the Oliver lands. And the shareholding dispute is basically, I am the only shareholder. And the APEC BC fraud, because that's a tank that had failed and had no pipes. So there's three major scams being presented before Justice Verhoeven. And so the only defense that he has to protect those people who are now involved in criminal offenses, now the fraud has expanded to so many people that it's convenient for him to say, I'm vexatious. A judge that believes water will flow uphill because this tank is on a hill, on a mound, and it can flow into the tank without water pipes, which do not exist, and he clearly is aware of that. Is the public really not aware of what's going on here? Are the people at the Vancouver courts, the staff, are you seriously saying you're not aware of what's going on here when for the last 70 years or so I've been telling you there's crimes taking place here? Are you afraid to speak out? Do you think by speaking out that you're going to be somehow harmed? You're going to lose your jobs? And if this is the case, and that's what's really happening here, then perhaps Judge Murray is in a similar situation, where she feels that her career might be ended, or she may not be promoted to the higher court, because you're building your careers at my expense in doing crimes. Whatever the reasons are, I think as a judge of the court who's taken an oath of office, you cannot judge a person to be vexatious without the facts. That other hearing is just hearsay. Those facts were not before you. You assumed that the other judge, Verhoeven, has done his job. He has not. So whatever your reasons are, you can correct this injustice, because one of the primary functions of the court is to provide justice, and when you are aware that justice has been denied, you have to correct it. And then on October 20th, 2017, there's a cost application where you're holding back my money, and the person who was kind of involved in this fraud, or perhaps entrapped or exploited, whatever the case may be, he is given his funds according to the order of Judge Bernier. But according to the Judge Bernier order, my shareholding has been made. This order is made that the funds have to be released to me. That is exactly what you stated to me in one of the proceedings that I was before you, in which I had basically gone before you on June 22nd, 2017, where I clearly stated to you that the funds are not going to be released, and you said, yes, they are. So even if there are costs, which I'm clearly opposing, as part of my response to the application of October 20th, 2017, I'm giving you an opportunity to apologize to me, considering the special circumstances that we have a province where a number of organizations are not operating according to law, and they're not being investigated. Because the way this fraud works, it works both ways. Both the people who are victimized are denied justice, and those who want to do some justice feel they're going to be held accountable somehow. So they don't do the right thing. So you have that chance now to do the right thing. You can return my funds. I don't need to make an application to the court. And if you're not going to return it, at least have the decency to have those actual result, the order or whatever that was made on October 20th, to be released to me so I can take some appropriate action. You can also make the order that I not be searched, because I'm not a threat to anybody. I think if anything, the sheriffs are a threat to me. So I can attend court with dignity. If that word has any meaning to you, I think you can look it up. It is not reserved for one community alone. Sikhs are proud of their religion, their culture. They want to live a dignified life. We do not want to be searched. Neither should you search me when I'm not a harm to anybody. I'm the one that was assaulted in the court. That matter has to be settled separately. So my appeal to you under these special circumstances is to release my funds and not to dismiss the action of S123329, because those lands were sold by your own admission that all matters have been concluded. So then why is it that in the October 20th, 2017 cost application is my proceeding S123329 being dismissed? That's evidence that matters have not concluded, that my application has not been heard. Even if you want to hold back some of the funds, do so, but release the funds so I can move on in life. There's other projects I want to move on to. And I can hire counsel. The funds have to be released to Sovereign Law Group. Attention, never Randhawa. The funds have to be made payable in trust, because I have debts to pay and I want to move on in life, and I have left instructions with that lawyer not to discuss this matter with any other lawyer, but the funds have to be sent to him. And then perhaps I can retain a lawyer and come to court. Someone that knows how the system works. You know, the system where lawyers come to court and tell lies because they're protected. I don't encourage that, but that's basically, I think, what's going to happen here now. Because you don't appreciate the truth. You appreciate lies. Person that tells the truth is taken down and attacked. So my businesses are affected, and I've taken 2 weeks, and I'm still in physiotherapy from the ICBC accidents. I need some time, but the funds can be released. Balance of the relief can be in the action S123329. I don't think I need to appeal to Manjeet anymore, but he's now fully aware. The whole world is going to be made aware of what's happening here in British Columbia. You can take whatever action you feel is appropriate. You can continue with your acts of bad faith. and continue to do harm to my family. You feel you have that right. That's fine, carry on. But if you want to stop this, you can stop it. I'm appealing to professional engineers who are working with me presently to continue working with me, because I have taken some time off as a result of this problem, which can't be solved by one person. So I have to take some drastic action of creating some sort of an organization. And my projects have been affected, but bear with me so I can carry on with Akima Consultants Inc. And I've stated this to you in the past, that even if I get my license back, I will be continuing, because I want to focus on bigger projects. I'm appealing to the president of APEC BC. I'm not appealing to those people who have done the crimes. I think the president of APEC BC has a higher duty to investigate these crimes taking place by lawyers and some professional engineers. And all those engineers who have not been disciplined, like Paul who thinks that a water tank can be designed to a building code. A tank that can be filled without pipes. Who has committed a crime by telling lies before the panel. And those 3 engineers consisting of the panel who clearly knew that the report was misconduct prepared by Westmount Consultants, who should be investigated as well. That investigation is going to be at a level never done before. And Ross Retty, who was clearly indicated that this is fraud and has not done anything, he should be investigated. And a few other engineers like that. The engineers at Sandwell who could have provided the report need to be investigated. I think there was 5 engineers from that firm. And I'm appealing to all the lawyers who have walked away, who have benefited from this fraud and received money from the insurance company when they did not protect my interest, to contact me. Perhaps there is some sort of humanity still left within you to do the right thing. You can contact me as well. But I'm appealing to the president of APEC BC to return my license. I'm sure you understand that a determination issued in fraud is an instrument of fraud. Under the Code of Ethics, a professional engineer cannot accept that determination because it is fraud. I will not do it. I haven't done it in 12 years, and I'm not going to do it in the next 10 years. I'm appealing to the Chief Justice to intervene into my proceedings so that perhaps he can give me some justice, because it is clear that a number of justices that I've appeared before ain't got a clue of what law and order is and what the law is all about, especially when you're breaking the law, when you're not following the Supreme Court rules. I really don't know what else I can say. I mean, this is the biggest scam in Canada, and it's happening openly, without any remorse, without any compassion. So, once again, to other professional engineers out there who feel that we need to bring this profession into correctness. So those who have been deprived by APEC BC can now claim damages along with me by doing a class action. It doesn't matter what your ethnic background is. I think a person from England who's got a British citizenship, to them is the color of my skin that matters. the fact that I'm a British Sikh and therefore going to be ignored by Sikhs. Because we're an ethnic group being corrupted. If you feel you've been deprived of your rights and an improper investigation, I would like to file a class action against APEC BC and all of those members who were involved in the fraud and the criminal acts. I think when they lose their houses, their wives, and they're out on the road, maybe then they will realize, or maybe they'll realize this when they're sitting in a jail cell, looking at a blank wall. I don't think I can say any more. I've said enough. I want any other business that can offer me a contract. I still intend to carry on with Akima Consultants Inc. But about 6 to 7 projects of mine have now been interfered with by the city of Surrey, where the security guard officer was called upon me when I was making a complaint to the mayor. I was sitting very calmly in a chair on the 6th floor having coffee that I purchased from the cafe shop downstairs. And a security officer comes and tells me to leave. I've written to the mayor, Linda Hepner, at least 7 times. She has ignored me. Perhaps I'm not important enough for you. I want any other business, any other contractor that needs some work done. I do have engineers working with me. I do intend to have other professional engineers to come forward. And let's forget the competition for a little while. Let's forget the bottom line. And do the right thing here. Stand with me. That's what's required under professional courtesy. Especially one person who has done so much for the profession and trying to change it. Like Anthony Zellaway did, who no longer is around because he's passed away. But I recall his wife writing to me seeking assistance. I would like to help this person. I know they have been deprived of rights as well. So if you're listening to this, please do get in touch with me. I know there's other people who told me not to mention their names, and I will not betray that trust. But if you're listening to this video, please contact me. Something has to change here. We cannot carry on this way. So my appeal is to everybody, including my clients, that my projects will still continue. And I'm asking one person in particular who has done subdivisions with me to consider this as part of professional courtesy. We can still work together and move on, except I do need some changes made in the way that we work. You have to stand firmly as an engineer should, because it's our profession that is being interfered with. All those lawyers who have walked away with me despite being paid in the gateway proceeding, who are supposed to act in my best interest, I'm not gonna mention your names, but you will be sent a link to this video. If you feel that you have wronged me, I think you should contact me and do what Abraham Lincoln did. Defended the right of an innocent person because of decency, because of humanity, because a wrongful person was going to be convicted for murder that was not committed by this person. And then soon after that, Abraham Lincoln became president. One message to the politicians. You are public servants. The public has placed considerable trust in you. A true politician will do the right thing. But I think what is happening here is some politicians are actually what I would term as political opportunists. You're looking after your own interest. You're not there to make money for yourself or to improve your status as a politician. You're there because people in a riding have elected you to do the right thing. I have actually explained this problem to Jasbir Sandhu about the CRA fraud. He did not solve this problem for me. I'm appealing to the public for this nation to exist. We have just celebrated 150 years of Canada. There are those who are remembering Canada and the oppression. Let's do the right thing here. Should anyone wish to contact me, you can do so. Kuldip Randhawa 5@gmail.com. KULDIPRANDHAWA 5@gmail.com. God bless.